Hello everyone, batching into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week, 10 days. For today's video, that's going to take us around the 16th of February, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles running to a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the Beijing Climate Centre next 40 days, taking us through the first half of March, can you believe, at the end of the video. Beginning though with all of the latest developments with Storm Caira. We're still in for a very nasty area of low pressure over the weekend, starting sort of Saturday afternoon, evening in the west, and then spreading across the country overnight, Saturday into Sunday, and lasting through Sunday as well. So I'll bring you up to date with all of the latest expected wind gusts. We'll look at the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation as well. Bit of news about the central temperature. Also, it's going to be quite a long video actually, this one, but I hope you find it interesting and informative. Just say it's going to be a live stream on the YouTube channel tomorrow evening, starting around 7:45, probably running for an hour or so, maybe till 9 o'clock. So if you'd like to have a listen and a watch of that, then we'll be live on YouTube tomorrow evening, Friday evening, from 7:45. We're going to talk about Storm Caira. I'm sure that will come up. We'll go through the midday runs as well, and of course I'll be interacting with your messages through the live chat. So, if you've got anything you want to ask, then live chat starting at 7:45, and I'll do my best to answer everybody's questions. It's going to be quite busy, I suppose, so probably won't be able to answer everybody's questions, but I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. No doubt we'll talk about this winter and what you all think about it so far. It hasn't been much of a winter, but we'll have a chat about that anyway tomorrow evening from 7:45 on the Gas Office YouTube channel. You'll need to subscribe to the channel if you want to know when we're live. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, and when we go live, you next to the Gas Office subscription, you will see a little red circle that appears to let you know that we are live, and that's absolutely great. Thanks to everybody for doing that. Also, make sure you subscribe through the bell notification icon thing. Apparently that stops you being unsubscribed by YouTube. A few people do get unsubscribed unceremoniously and for no particular reason from various channels apparently, and the way around that is if you subscribe through the bell notification icon thing. Right, so that's tomorrow, 7:45 live stream. We're going to start off for this video, though, talking about Storm Caira. So this is the latest facts chart, which is the human interpretation of models by forecasters at the UK Met Office. The latest facts chart for midnight on Sunday. And you can see a very complex looking situation, but obviously it looks very unsettled. Yes, we've got a 961 millibar area of low pressure sitting to the west of Ireland. So loads and loads of weather fronts associated with this as well. So not only is it going to be very windy, you can see that indicated by these tight back dive bars, there will be quite a lot of heavy rain associated with this also, coming out of these various weather fronts. As we go through to the next facts chart, which can take us to midday on Sunday, 9th of February, you can see that, again, we've got this cold front that's across England and Wales. That will produce heavy rain, various warm fronts ahead of that. There's an occluded front coming into the northwest of Scotland, and really tight back dive bar, so the winds will strengthen over Saturday night, and then they'll strengthen further through the course of Sunday. That does look a bit damaging in terms of how tightly packed those isobars are. The central pressure of Storm Caira is down to 951 millibars, can you believe, by the end of Sunday afternoon, or by the middle of Sunday and into the afternoon. So a very, very intense area of low pressure indeed. As we move through to the next fact chart, I can possibly take you to this one. So that went a little bit wrong. Let's try and do that. That's gone wrong as well. Let's try one more time, and there we go. That's the facts chart for Monday, and then it's all got much more straightforward. We've got rid of all those various weather fronts, and we're bringing in this very tightly packed westerly wind, gale force winds, and quite cold air. You see that the air, if you want to go as far as that, the air is originating from kind of like Greenland, eastern parts of Canada. It's a very long sea trek with this across the North Atlantic, so it will be modified quite a lot. But nevertheless, that's quite a strong up to gale force west-northwesterly wind. And there's various convergence lines indicating that showers will pep up. That's the 528 thickness line just there, so that's pretty cold air that we've got across the country. I'll just highlight that. So there's the 528 thickness line just there. So we've got pretty cold air across the country on Monday, and showers will turn readily wintry up in the north. This is from the Weather Outlook. This is based on the latest GFS run showing wind gusts. So we begin today, very calm winds today. We're under an area of high pressure, make the most of it. From tomorrow, wind begins to get up. It takes a while though, it just turns breezy really across most parts of the country through tomorrow afternoon. But you notice winds are strengthening out to the west, up the Irish Sea. Tomorrow afternoon we start to find 40, 50 mile an hour gusts, becoming breezier everywhere else through the afternoon as well. And then into the evening, some quite strong winds across the west of Scotland. But at this point, we aren't under Storm Caira, so it's just generally quite windy as we go through Friday and then into Friday night. There'll be a band of rain push across the country, followed by a bit of a moderation of the winds. And then in comes the first batch of gale force winds ahead of Storm Caira through Saturday afternoon, seeing gusts of wind going to 50, 60 miles an hour widely across west of Scotland and Northern Ireland too, possibly up to 70 miles an hour around the Irish Sea later on later on Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. Very windy across England and Wales as well. Through the course of Saturday evening, gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And then we strengthen further through Saturday night into Sunday. So in comes severe gale force winds into these western parts of the country, particularly around these Irish Sea coast of northwest England, Wales, down to southwest England, gusts 70, 80 miles an hour through the early part of Sunday morning in the west. And then they transfer eastward. So notice over the Pennines, we're talking about potentially 80 mile an hour gusts there through central parts of northern England. That looks very, very nasty indeed. Much of Wales, the Midlands, central southern England, talking about gusts up to 60 to 70 miles an hour. Well inland as well. That's quite unusual for the winds to be gusting that strong well inland through Sunday afternoon. So things get really, really rough on Sunday. Into Sunday evening, it stays windy, but the worst of the winds do push away to the east. I mean, into the early hours of Monday, we're still talking about gusts of wind going up to 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour as we go through Monday. But it's not quite as horrendous as it is on Sunday. It does look as though Sunday will be the worst of Storm Caira. Yeah, it's going to be quite nasty to say the least. So it will be a case of batten down the hatches, I think, through the course of this weekend, and especially Saturday night and into Sunday. Let's just have a look at the precipitation that we're going to get with this as well. So this is first band of rain pushed across the country on Saturday sort of evening. Could be a little snow mixed in with that across Scotland. Otherwise, it's showering rain moving across England and Wales. Friday night, Saturday morning, I should say. Then we go through into Saturday afternoon. Here comes the next batch of rain ahead of Storm Caira into the northwest of Scotland. Some hill snow could be associated with that. And then into Sunday, turns very wet across many parts of the country. Going to be really wet and windy through the course of Sunday. Some very bright colours in there, indicating some torrential rain for parts of northern England. Potentially that moves southwards into the rest of England and Wales during the course of Sunday afternoon. Turns clearer, but also colder in the northwest. Showers turning increasingly wintry across Scotland and possibly to Northern Ireland too. And then into Monday, that's when we've got these wintry showers coming through. Lots of them in the north, mainly cold rain down in the south, but lots of wintry showers up in the north. And by Monday night, some wintry showers could even be getting down to more southern parts of the country, but primarily we'll be talking about high ground for those snow showers. And they keep going, particularly into the north and west into Tuesday as well. We may need to do snow watch over the weekend, but of course the first concern is going to be on Sunday in terms of those storms, so everybody will need to take care on Sunday. Right, Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast is looking like this. So the black line shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, not driving anything in its own terms. It just tells what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is positive, we're going to have low pressure, strong polar vortex over the pole and the Arctic. When the Arctic Oscillation is, that's when the Arctic Oscillation is positive. When the AO is negative, we're going to have high pressure blocking up over the pole. We've had a positive AO throughout this winter, primarily, although we did go a little bit negative through the second half of December. But overall, the AO has been very positive through this winter. That's where we currently are right now, moderately positive. Look where the GFS ensembles are taking the Arctic Oscillation next week, going off the scale positive. We could well break records next week for the positivity of the Arctic Oscillation. This is telling us that the polar vortex is going to be really, really strong, really powering up the westerlies. And yeah, we're going to be in for it next week with this positive AO. That's indicating a very, very intense polar vortex indeed. The NAO is the same idea. Again, the black line shows we've been with the NAO, around at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to go. Overall, this winter has been a positive NAO winter, nowhere near as positive as the AO has been, and actually at the moment we're around neutral. Next week, as the AO powers up to perhaps record-breaking levels, so too will the NAO power up, not going as positive as the AO does, not going to record-breaking levels, but that's a pretty strong positive NAO being forecast for next week. And even into the second half of February, GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to stay in positive territory as well. So we've got both the indexes, the AO and the NAO, being forecast to be positive. I mean, the AO does come down from that record-breaking level next week. It does come down again to a more sensible level of positive, but it's still positive even into the second half of February. So there's absolutely no sign of an end to this pattern that we've had all winter. The AO, NAO stays positive. We're going to keep powering in those westerly winds. This is how the CET is still looking for January. We still don't have a finalised number for January. Apparently, the UK Met, our good friend Richard Traw, tweeted the UK Met last night to say when we're likely to get an update with the finalised central temperature number for January, and the answer was either later this week or early next week. Got to wait a week to 10 days apparently, but we never have had to before, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But maybe somebody's just not very well or on holiday or something. But anyway, still at the moment, the no official data for January 2020. Provisionally still sitting at 6.5, an anomaly of 2.7 provisional up to the 31st. We do see just here that we have got a provisional number for February as well, though it hasn't been updated on this page. So this is min CT for 2020, 2 months out data, updated to the 6th of February 2020 at 10:27 this morning. This is January, just here, this 6.53. Remember, this is all provisional, but provisionally January is at 6.53, which is 6.5. February, look, is just here. Provisionally, February 2020 is at 7.73, so that will be 7.7, of course. So provisionally, for the first 5 days of January, or updated up to this morning, for the first 5 days of February, I should say, we stand at, let's get rid of that, we stand at 7.7. But that is provisional only for the first 5 days of the month. This is central temperature page at gazweathers.com. Just to tell you when the last time was, we had a February central temperature going into the 7s. So if we scroll down for all of the centuries and decades, remember CET goes all the way back to 1659. It's one of the longest and most consistent temperature records anywhere on Earth. The further back you go, the more unreliable it gets. So this is 2020 for the CET at Gazweathers just here. No finalised numbers just yet, but I'll show you when the last time was we had a February CET in the 7s. It was actually in 2002 when we came in at 7.0. So it's been quite a while since we had a central temperature for February in the 7s, although we have had a couple of very mild Februaries just recently. Of course, we had 2017 at 6.1 and 2019 at 6.7. So we have had a couple of very mild Februaries recently, but it's been a while since we had February CT in the 7s. And before that, it was actually 1998, which had a February CT of 7.3. That was with the Super Nino, of course. That's exceptionally mild February. 1990 also stands out as a notably mild February at 7.3, part of a really mild winter for winter of 89-90. Of course, if we scroll you back, we can see that the mildest winter on record, which was 1868-1869, phenomenal, that's not been beaten in recent years, but the warmest winter on record for the CT anyway is 1868-1869. February 1869 has a CT of 7.5. That's not the mildest February on record, though. The mildest or the warmest February on record actually is a really, really long time ago. It is one of the most remarkable long-standing consistent long-term temperature records within the CT. It's way back in 1779. February 1779 had a CT of 7.9. That is the warmest February on record within the CT. Obviously, there have been other Februaries that have reached the 7s, as we've just talked about, but that almost gets to 8 degrees, 8.0, just short of it. And that is the mildest February on record back in 1779. It's remarkable that that temperature record has survived so very long, but there we go. That's the warmest February on record within the CT. Anyway, will we beat that this year? I would be surprised if we do, because I don't think we're bringing up the sort of warm tropical air masses from southern climes that you would have to get that record, to beat that record from 1779, because it's only in the month, it's only the 6th of February, and we should wait and see about that. Hopefully we'll get some finalised data for January before too much longer in terms of the CT. And when we do, we'll bring that to you, of course. Right, these are the 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts for next week, 10 days from Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF on the top, the GFS is on the bottom. So 500 millibars is the area in the atmosphere. High pressure and low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream. Red strobe plates high pressure, blue to low pressure. ECM looks very unsettled in the 7 to 10 day time frame, with below average heights out to our west and also over Scandinavia to some degree, although we are reaching in a bit of high pressure from the north and from the west too, so it doesn't really show all that well. There is a ridge that's building here, and you can see that from the elongation in the isobars. If I get rid of the lines, you can see there's an elongation in the isobars just here, and that's a ridge building in between the two troughs of low pressure. I think the ECM goes off on a bit of a tangent this morning. I'll talk about that when we get to the generic charts, but you'll see that the ECM is doing something quite different compared to most of the model outputs by day 10. The GFS just looks very straightforward, looks very flat. Low pressure below average heights up to the north, bringing in a strong westerly jet stream. Still, with high pressure to the south, it just goes on and on and on. The westerlies continue up to day 10 with the GFS. These are the upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at Manchester today. Red line is 30-year upper air temperature average for Manchester. We're starting off very much mild average with the upper air temperatures at the moment, although it's pretty cold down on the surface. There's a widespread frost for many parts of England this morning. There'll be another one tonight. Temperatures drop down a little bit then as we go through the start of the weekend, and then lift up as Storm Caira comes in and gives us that dramatic windy and also wet weather over the weekend. After that, bit of a cold snap through the early part of next week, and then to the second half of February. This period just here looks like the upper air temperatures are lifting up, becoming milder into the second half month. Precipitation anomalies show reasonably dry weather up to the weekend. Then we've got quite a bit of wet weather coming through for Manchester over the weekend with Storm Caira, of course. Quite unsettled, quite showery into next week as well. Drying trend appearing though through the second half of February, so possibly milder and drier as we get into the second half of February. If that's associated with high pressure, though, the exact position of the high pressure will be critical as to whether we actually turn milder on the surface, of course. So this is how the temperature anomaly is looking from the 6th to the 14th of February. A little bit milder than average for England and Wales, near normal for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Generally quite a mild scene across most parts of Europe. Precipitation anomalies above average. It's going to be a wetter than average week for much of the UK and in fact much of Northern Europe from the 6th to the 14th of February. They may well start trending a bit drier though when we look at them next week. This is how the latest GFS run is looking for Sunday. So obviously we've got Storm Caira bearing down on us at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. There's Ciara just there to west of Scotland. Gale force winds sweeping across the country. Looks very, very nasty day on Sunday. Winds gusting up to 80 mile an hour, definitely possible around Irish Sea coast. That's Monday into cold northwesterlies, bringing wintry showers, snow shower probably, into particularly northern parts of the country. That carries on Tuesday as well. Wednesday could be a slightly quieter day, and this little transient bump of high pressure, but then by Thursday, the next low pressure is rattling through, bringing more rain, possibly hail snow, up in the north. And even into the end of next week, we've got more wet and windy weather sweeping in for Valentine's Day, so that's 14th February, looks very wet and windy then. Up to day 10, yes, low pressure carries on driving through, no end to it. Up to day 10, which is 16th February, we're sort of on the 500 millibar height anomaly flow chart, but the wind and rain goes on into more extended range. You've guessed it, low pressure still powering through. Look at that, to the 20th of February, and we've got another one of these intense areas of low pressure out to west of Scotland. There's just no end to this unsettled weather with the GFS. It carries on pushing all these low pressures through as far as we can go to Saturday, the 22nd of February. However, I do think that's a bit of an outlier from the GFS operation run. This is the ensemble. This is GFS ensembles from weatherout.com. Look at mean sea level pressure. And we've got the dates on the bottom of the chart just here. So this is the second half of February in that period just there. This is the operation run, the run we're just looking at, this green line just here. Generally low pressure with that. It's the ensemble for London, by the way. Generally low pressure with that. But you'll see that most of these ensemble members are lifting up to here, going up to kind of like 1,020 to 1,040 millibars into this second half of February, whereas the green line operation run is a clear outlier. I mean, it's virtually dominated by low pressure right way to the very end, but most ensemble members are not doing what the operation run is doing. That doesn't necessarily mean the operation run is wrong, but it does mean that the GFS ensembles are favouring high pressure to build in the second half of February. GM looks like this again. Storm Caira blasting away with all of her fury on Sunday, and that takes into the early part of next week, looking cold and showery. Then into the middle of next week, we stay cold and showery. This area of low pressure is interesting just here. That's taking a southerly track. The GFS has that much further northwards around here on Thursday. If the low pressure was as far south as that, possibly could bring a bit of a wintry surprise to more southern parts of the country, but it's unlikely to verify. I think this low pressure will be further north through the middle part of next week. And then into the extended range up to day 10 with the GEM. The Canadian keeps us wet and windy. So again, no real suggestion of high pressure there either up to day 10, 16th of February. ECM, once again, we're into wet and windy weather with Storm Caira over the weekend. Stormy weather, really, I should say. Into over the weekend and into next week, cold, windy, showery, wintry showers in the north certainly possible. There's that area of low pressure for Thursday further north. So on the northern edge of that could bring some snow to Scotland, but it would likely bring rain to much of England and Wales. As that low pressure gets out of the way on Friday the 14th, though, something a little bit different happens. I talked about this when I looked at the 500 millibar height anomaly flow chart. Notice this little ridge is beginning to build out to the west of the country. And that starts to move up towards Scandinavia. So the ECM at day 10, which is Sunday the 16th of February, is having a go. It's having a go at building in a Scandinavian high. But I think that is quite a significant outlier synoptically. We see from the GEM and the GFS that they both have us in west-south westerlies. And I don't think that scenario is very well supported by the ECM ensembles either. So I think the ECM attempting to build a Scandinavian high there at day 10, 16th of February, is probably going off on a bit of a tangent. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run. Loads of dry weather to start off with, of course. It's a Friday into Saturday, but this first band of rain pushed across the country, that one becomes very patchy as it moves across the country, but it's marking the change back to stormy weather for the weekend. This is into the early hours of Sunday, when we're turning genuinely wet and windy then, with Storm Caira, lots of heavy rain on Sunday across England and Wales. That gets out of the way, leaves us with these snow showers packing into Scotland, wintry showers in other northern western parts of the country then, and more persistent areas of rain suggested for the south there on the 11th of February. That could turn a little bit wintry on its northern edge, I suppose. And then more wintry showers up to the middle of next week before low pressure powers through for Thursday. Hailstone with that, heavy rain down in the south. That one gets out of the way and leaves us then building up that high pressure, but attempts to form a Scandinavian high as we move up towards day 10, but we know that is probably going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it does turn drier after mid-month with the ECM. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 16th of February from the Icelandic Met Office. 17 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure out to the west. High pressure is to our east. We're looking drier there and probably quite mild as well. 13 again with high pressure to the east and southeast, low pressure to the west, again bringing up a southwest wind, probably drier for the south and east anyway with that one. 9 with high pressure to the south and low pressure to the north, bringing a rather flat westerly. 6 with high pressure attempting to build up towards Scandinavia. That does include the operational run and the control run. The operational run was just talking about, of course. High pressure going up to Scandinavia there, trying to turn wind into the east, but only 6 members of the ECM ensembles are doing that, telling us that by day 10 the ECM operational run did go off on a bit of a tangent, and then another 6 with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, income the westerly wind. So that tells us that the ECM operational run was not well supported by its ensembles in that Scandinavian high attempt. That doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, just that it's a very low probability of verifying. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This is the 21st of February. 24 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure over just a little bit to the south of the country, mainly dry with those and probably quite mild, although it could be frosty at night. 14 with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south. That's a more unsettled option and mild. 8 with deep low pressure out to the west of us and bringing in a west-southwesterly wind. And then 5, including the ECM control run. So this is how the operational run will probably have developed if it had gone on beyond day 10. 5 with a big area of high pressure blocking over and to the northeast of the country and bringing in a cold easterly wind as well. So that's how the operation run probably would have developed if we could have gone any further than day 10. And then finally, just having a look at Beijing Climate Centre. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us from the 6th to the 15th of February. The coming 10 days is very unsettled. Low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south. Income those westerly winds, so quite stormy for a time over weekend in particular. We keep the mild westerlies going for the next 10-day period, which is 16th, 25th of February. Again, low pressure is to the north, high pressure is to the south. Everything looking very flat and westerly, unsettled but mild weather continues. A change though for the next 10-day period. This is the 26th of February to the 6th of March. Above average heights then, starting to build to the northeast. Come over here, that's Scandinavia. So hints of a bit of a Scandinavian high getting going at the end of February as low pressure is pushed back towards Greenland. That will be starting to bring in some drier, colder weather for the end of February and into the beginning of March. And look what happens for the next 10-day period. This is the 7th to the 16th of March. It's days 31 to 40. It's a very, very long time out, but that is genuine northern blocking appearing then in the Norwegian Sea. So we've got high pressure sitting between Iceland and Norway. Winds are in from the east. That would be much, much colder. Winter is unleashed as we get through to March. Actually, absolutely remarkable that should happen after such a very mild winter, but there we go, these things do happen. Temperature anomalies in the first 10-day period, the 6th to the 15th, milder than average. Temperature anomalies with Beige Climate Centre for next 10-day period, 16th to 25th of February, also milder than average, but beginning to go a little bit cooler in that next 10-day period, which is the 26th of February to the 6th of March, just begins to go a little bit cooler then. Starting to cool down. And then look at this, colder than average, and quite significantly so for the final 10-day period, days 31 to 40, the 7th to the 16th of March. It's colder than average, not just for the UK, but through much of Central Western Europe. We're talking about anomalies going between 1 and 2 degrees below average. The coldest weather that we've had for many, many weeks there. As we get through into the beginning of spring. You couldn't make it up, could you? And of course, we're talking about very extended range stuff, so it's unlikely to verify, but it's a sort of change that can take place. Even when you had a very mild winter, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get some dramatically colder weather as you get beyond the winter into the, particularly the early spring months. It can happen, so we should keep an eye on that. But of course, that's extreme range stuff. In a more reasonable time frame, next week, 10 days, we've got Storm Caira to focus on for this weekend. Into the early part of next week, cold, windy, showery, snow showers possible up in the north. We keep the unsettled weather going at least to the middle of February. I think the second half of the month there is still a trend here towards higher pressure, but how long any high pressure lasts for, where it sits, what kind of weather it brings for the second half of February is still quite uncertain and open to a lot of speculation at the moment, and will probably be the focus of videos next week. Right, that's it for your videos for today. Extended one. Hope you found it interesting, informative. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll be able to see the live stream tomorrow at 7:45 in the evening. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.